We're going to be taking a trip to the Appalachian Mountains on US 219. Come on, let's go! Alright everyone, today we're going to be doing US Highway 219. US 219 is a child of US 19, and while it does not meet 19 itself, it does indirectly meet it because of US 119. US 219 is also a very scenic road as it goes through the Appalachian Mountains, and you can see the mountains from certain points along this stretch of road. Also, it helps connect Virginia to Buffalo, New York, so that is a pretty helpful road. So, let's get started with US Highway 219. But first, you're watching TheDerpHog, where I make highways content on all sorts of different topics. If you've been enjoying it, be sure to hit that like button, and if you've been really enjoying it, be sure to smash that subscribe button so you're notified on all future videos. And if you really want to help out the channel, become a member today, where you get custom cool emojis, early access to future videos, along with one free extra request per month. And if you don't want to become a member, you can always just pay $3 for a intersection request in future videos. Those highways will be listed down in the description below, and I'll make sure to shout you out when that video releases. So let's get on with the highway. As you can see here, this is the map of US Highway 219 as it runs from a junction with US Highway 460 outside of Peterstown, West Virginia, going through West Virginia, Maryland, Pennsylvania, and ending at Interstate 90 just outside of Buffalo, New York. So with that, I'm going northbound on 219. So we begin here at the US 219 and 460 junction, where you can see that 219 is getting signed for Lewisburg, which is a good choice, while 460 is getting signed for Roanoke. In our first mileage on US Highway 219, we get Lewisburg from 45 miles away, which is a good choice. And here we are entering into the state of West Virginia, and we're immediately hit with Peterstown, West Virginia, downtown. And after going through downtown Peterstown, we're now get another mileage sign with Lewisburg from 44 miles away, which is a good choice still. Here in Union, we meet with West Virginia 3, and 219 is going to continue north towards Lewisburg. Our next mileage sign, we get Lewisburg from 20 miles away still. I mean, you could start signing Marlinton, but Lewisburg is still pretty sizable to be signed from this short of a distance. Now, I think Marlinton should at least be on this mileage sign, because we do not need Lewisburg from only 9 miles away. Come on, West Virginia. Well, luckily on our next mileage sign, Marlinton is still starting to be signed from 48 miles away, so that is a good choice. Here we meet with US Highway 60 and downtown Lewisburg, and we're going to continue north towards Interstate 64. And here we meet with Interstate 64, and it's getting not so good control cities. That Beckley for westbound should definitely be Charleston, while Lexington should either be Charlottesville or Richmond, not these control cities. Also, I did look on Interstate 64, and 219 is just getting southbound control cities and no mention of Marlinton, which stinks. Luckily, our next mileage sign, Marlinton is still our primary from 42 miles away though, so that is good. And here in the Marlinton area, we're now getting a 3-line mileage sign, and Elkins is now starting to be signed from 64 miles away. And on our way to Elkins, we pass by some beautiful scenery here. And here's some more awesome scenery along US Highway 219. And now we're going to be joining with US Highway 250, and 250 and 219 are going to be heading north towards Elkins still. In fact, Elkins is still on our mileage signs from 18 miles away. Here we meet with US Highway 33, an oddball road for sure, and 33, 250, and 219 are all going to be concurrent with each other. And here we get a pull through for both 219 and 250 as they're getting signed for Buchanan and Parsons respectively. Also, that 33 is saying to Interstate 79 as well, but it's not on the pull through with 219 and 250 for some reason. Here is where we're going to be joining with US Highway 48 eastbound, and the other two highways are going to be joining with 48 west, as 48 east and 219 are getting signed for Parsons. And our next mileage sign, we get Oakland, Maryland now as our primary from 55 miles away, which I think is a good choice. And here's where US 48 splits off from US 219 as it's getting signed for Davis, and we're still getting signed for Oakland still. The next mileage time we get Red House and Oakland as our next two towns from 15 and 25 miles respectively. And here we are entering into the state of Maryland, so let's see what Maryland has to offer on US 219. Here we meet with US Highway 50, and if we take a look on US 50, we can see that 219 is still getting signed for Oakland, along with Deep Creek Lake now. Here in Oakland, we meet with Maryland Highway 135, along with Maryland Highway 219. Normally, I'd be against state highways being numbered as the same as US highways or interstates, but in this instance, Maryland 219 is just basically like a half a mile extension of US Highway 219. So I'm okay with it here. And here is 219 going through the heart of Oakland, Maryland. Looks like a nice little town. In our next mileage time, we now get Keezer's Ridge as our primary from 25 miles away, which is where we meet Interstate 68. And here is Deep Creek Lake here. It looks like a pretty nice little lake. Here we meet with Maryland Highway 42, which will take you up towards Interstate 60 as well, along to Friendsville, Maryland, which is a nice little place I would like to visit someday. And here we get an upside down mileage sign where we get Accident as our primary from 5 miles away, and Keezer's Ridge, our true primary, still on the top line from 13. And here's the town of Accident. Looks like a nice little town. And anyways, here in Keezer's Ridge, we meet with Interstate 68 along with US Highway 40, and we're now getting signed for Cumberland, which is an awesome choice. And here's where 219 splits off from Interstate 68 as it's getting signed for Myersdale, Pennsylvania, which is, I think, a fine choice, because Myersdale is the first sizable town that we'll be passing through in Pennsylvania. And speaking of Pennsylvania, here we are entering into the state, and right away we get a Welcome to Pennsylvania sign, a mileage sign, and a sign telling us that we're now on the Flight 93 Memorial Highway, so nice 9/11 recognition there, PennDOT. In our first mileage sign, we get Myersdale from 7 miles away. I mean, I'm okay with it for now because, like I said, it is the first sizable town that we'll be passing through. But our next mileage sign, we're now getting Myersdale from only 5 miles away. We do not need that top line there. There should be Myersdale and Somerset, or Myersdale and Johnstown. No need for that top line from only 1 mile away. Luckily, here in Myersdale, 219 is now getting signed north for Somerset, which is a good choice. Also, we're going to be talking about that Salisbury when we go on southbound here in a little bit. But our next mileage sign, we actually get Somerset on the top line from 11 miles away, and Johnstown from 41. So this is an awesome mileage sign, PennDOT. Here in Somerset, we're going to actually mean the Pennsylvania Turnpike, and Somerset is actually infamously known for its very long indirect intersection between 219 and the Pennsylvania Turnpike. I don't know which one is longer, to get to 219 from the Pennsylvania Turnpike or watching an entire movie's worth of loading screens from Sonic 06. Here are the two exits that you can take to get to the Pennsylvania Turnpike from US Highway 219. In our next mileage sign, we get Johnstown on the top line from 26 miles away, and Evansburg from a good 38. I do like that Evansburg. Here we meet with US Highway 30, and it's getting signed for Jennerstown and Stoystown. I don't know about that because I have never heard of those places. Here in Johnstown, we meet with Pennsylvania Highway 56, and it's just getting signed for the Johnstown Expressway for some reason. I mean, as long as you have the town name there, so okay. And here we get a one-liner with 219 being under it from 15 miles away. Here in Ebensburg, we meet with US Highway 22 as it's being signed for Blairsville and Hollidaysburg respectively. 22 west to be Pittsburgh, and Penda, I know that you are trying to be festive for the upcoming holiday season, but that 22 eastbound should be Altoona, please, not Hollidaysburg. But I do like how we're getting signed for Carrolltown in Indiana for 219. And here's the exit for US Highway 422 as it's being signed for Indiana, Pennsylvania, and Evansburg. But our next mileage time, we're now getting Carrolltown from 8 miles away. Seriously, what is the deal with one-liners and only being 8 miles away? It should either be like Carrolltown and Du Bois or like Carrolltown and Northern Cambria. No need for Carrolltown by itself. It's only like 1,000 people. While there's a lot more towns going to be passing through with way more population than in Carrolltown. This is just a stupid one-liner overall, PennDOT. Anyways, here in Carrolltown, we're now getting signed for Northern Cambria from 7 miles away. That should have also been on that one-liner with Carrolltown, PennDOT. And here in Northern Cambria, 219 is now getting signed for Du Bois, which is a good choice. In our next mileage time, we get Cherry Tree on the top line from 4 miles away and Du Bois from 46. But here in Cherry Tree, we're now getting signed for Mojave from 16 miles away. So, PennDOT, what happened to our Du Bois? Why are you switching over to Mojave now? Here in Mojave, we meet with Pennsylvania Highway 36, and we're now going to be concurrent with it, as we're now getting signed for both Du Bois and Altoona, which is an awesome choice. Here's where Pennsylvania 36 splits off from US 219 to head towards Altoona, while we're still getting signed for Du Bois still. In our next mileage time, we do get Du Bois as our primary from 27 miles away, along with Champaign and Clearfield being signed. And here we're joining with US Highway 322, as we're now getting signed for Brookville and Du Bois. And here's where we split off from US Highway 322, as we're now getting signed for Du Bois from 3 miles away. For our next mileage time, we get Brockway now as our primary from 14 miles away. I mean, you could do Ridgeway instead, but Brockway is still a pretty sizable place, and that's where we meet Pennsylvania 28. Here we meet the northern terminus of US Highway 119, which is a pretty interesting road, and I would like to do someday. And here in Du Bois, we're meeting with Pennsylvania Highway 255, and we can see that we're getting signed for Brockway. And guess who we meet in Du Bois? We meet the terribly signed Interstate 80. 80 East getting signed for Bellefonte, that should be New York City, while 80 West is getting signed for a place called Sharon. Hey PennDOT, is Sharon your girlfriend or something? Because why are you signing her on a major cross-country interstate? That Sharon, your girlfriend, should be Cleveland or Youngstown. No need to sign Sharon. And on Interstate 80, we're just getting signed for Du Bois and Brockway. I mean, Du Bois is fine for southbound, we can still take you into town, but Brockway should be Ridgeway. No need for Brockway, please, PennDOT. Also, this picture was provided by Quarter Munch 437, so thank you for letting me use this picture. Luckily, our next mileage time, we do get Ridgeway from a good 24 miles away, so at least they listen to us there. And here in Brockway, we meet with Pennsylvania Highway 28, and we can see that 219 is being signed for Ridgeway still. But on our next mileage time, we actually get Ridgeway from the top line from 16 miles away, and Bradford now as our primary from a good 60 miles away. This is the longest distance that we've seen on this US highway so far. This is in rare Pennsylvania W here, PennDOT. Well done. It's being signing Brad from a good 60 miles away. In our next mileage time, we still get the same two places from only a closer distance of 4 miles. Here outside the Ridgeway area, we can see that there's a special little sign telling us that there's going to be a truck route coming up soon because we're about to go down a big hill here. And we can see that there's lane for trucks over 7,000 pounds take US 219 truck route, while trucks that are under 7,000 pounds are fine to stay on 219 main line. But once upon a time, someone actually traveled down the truck route on a car and got this very terrible quality street view imagery. So I'm guessing at that time, Google was like, hey, we wanted to cover every single road, so go down this special truck road. And since then, no other Google Street View car has been to. Anyways, here in downtown Ridgeway, we can see that we're meeting with Pennsylvania Highway 120 here, as it's being signed for Emporium, while we're now getting signed for Warren and Bradford respectively, which are good choices. Also, if you want to check out a video on Pennsylvania 120, it's in the top right corner here. I covered it because it actually used to be US 120 before it was downgraded into a state highway. Skipping ahead a little bit, we're now meeting with US Highway 6 here outside of Crane, Pennsylvania. In our next mileage time, we get Cooster City on the top line from 16 miles away and Bradford as our primary from 20. Here in Bradford, we can see that 219 is now getting signed north for Salamanca. I mean, I would prefer to see Buffalo instead because at this point, all of traffic on 219 is going to Buffalo. So why is Salamanca signed PennDOT? That should be Buffalo. Are we seriously doing this again? First, we saw a terrible mileage sign with awesome scenery on US 71 Southern. Now we're seeing it here on US Highway 219. Please take that mileage sign off my screen. I do not want to see it. Ah, there we go. That's some awesome, beautiful scenery. That's way better. No need for that stupid mileage sign with a limestone from 4 miles away instead of Buffalo being on that sign. Come on. And here we are entering into the state of New York, so let us see what New York has to offer on US 219. Here we are joining with Interstate 86 as we're going to be joining with westbound 86 to head west towards Erie. In our next mileage time, we get Salamanca on the top line from 6 miles away and Erie from a good 81. So this is actually a pretty good mileage time by New York here. And here's where 219 splits off from Interstate 86 as it's being signed for Salamanca. That should be Salamanca and Buffalo. No need for just Salamanca by itself. Luckily, here in Salamanca, we can see that we're now getting signed for Buffalo, which is a great choice. In our next mileage time, we do get Buffalo as our primary from 28 miles away. Also, this is a very rare instance of seeing a mileage sign not on an interstate in New York State, because they're pretty terrible about them. And here, skipping ahead to the Buffalo area, we meet with 20 alternate here as it's the exit to get to Orchard Park and home of the Buffalo Bills Stadium. And here is US 20 proper, as we don't have a direct interchange with it. You have to take 20 alternate to get there. And here we're going to end US Highway 219 shield as we're merging into Interstate 90. Sadly, this is from like 2019. There is no longer a end US 219 shield as of current street view. So with that, we're going to be turning around and doing southbound US 219. So we begin here on Interstate 90 itself, where we can see that 90 will become the thruway soon, getting signed for Erie, and 219 is starting off with Orchard Park and Springfield as its control cities. In our next mileage time, we get Orchard Park on the top line from 3 miles away and Springfield from 22. Another rare NIDOT mileage sign not on interstates. Here we go under US Highway 20 once again. And here's the exit for Orchard Park, US 20 alternate. And we're now going to be meeting New York 240 and 277 in a mile. And skipping ahead to the Springville area, we can see that Salamanca has become our primary from 29 miles away now. I mean, there's not a lot of mileage signs in New York, but they do make up for having these like directional signs here telling us how far we are from our next town. So at least they do a good job in that. Skipping ahead to the Salamanca area, we'll meet with New York Highway 417, and we're going to have a short concurrency with it as we head through downtown. And here we're now going to be joining with Interstate 86 eastbound as it's being signed for Binghamton. That is an awesome choice. But we only have a short concurrency with Interstate 86 as we're now getting signed for Limestone and Bradford. I like that Bradford there, but no need for that Limestone. Limestone's practically nothing. If it doesn't deserve to be on that northbound mileage sign, it definitely does not be deserved here on this exit sign. Here we get some more scenery along this highway. Man, I should drive this highway someday. And here we get a Welcome to Pennsylvania sign, the brand new Welcome to Pennsylvania sign, not the old one. And we can see that we're now entering into the town of Bradford. Here in Bradford, we're meeting Pennsylvania Highway 346. And we can see that we get a pull through for 219 South being signed for Ridgeway, which is a good choice. Our next mileage time, we get Cooster City on the top line from 2 miles away and Ridgeway from 42. To be honest, I'm kind of seeing that Cooster as being Custard instead of Cooster for some reason. And our next mileage time, after going through Cooster City, we're now getting signed for Lance Corner from 8 miles away and Ridgeway from 32. That Lance Corners is where we're going to be meeting US Highway 6. And here we are meeting US Highway 6, and it's being signed for Kane westbound and Smethsport going the other direction. And we are going to be talking about US Highway 6 next week, so stay tuned for that. Our next mileage time, we get Ridgeway on the top line from 7 miles away and Brockway from 24. Now, personally, I would skip Brockway and just sign Du Bois instead, because Du Bois is bigger, and that's where we meet Interstate 80. We only meet Pennsylvania 28 in Brockway. Here at the Pennsylvania 120 junction, we can see that we're not getting signed for Kiersey and Brockway still. But our next mileage time, we do get a 3-line here with Du Bois as our primary from 28 miles away, so that is an awesome choice. Here in Brockway, we split off from Pennsylvania Highway 28 as we're now getting signed for Du Bois from 9 miles away. For our next mileage time, we actually get Du Bois on the top line and Ebensburg as our primary from a good 72 miles away. So we saw mileage time on northbound from 60 miles away. Now we're getting Ebensburg from a good 72. That is awesome, PennDOT. And here in Du Bois, we're meeting with Interstate 80 here. And the control cities for that major highway is so bad that PennDOT killed one of my favorite Sonic characters here, Surge the Teneric. PennDOT, why did you kill one of my favorite Sonic characters? Please change these control cities, and please revive my favorite character. Come on, man. And here we split off from Pennsylvania Highway 255 here, and we're now getting signed for Ebensburg still from a good 52 miles away. And here we meet with US Highway 119 as we're still getting signed south for Ebensburg. And Ebensburg is still our primary from 59 miles away, so that is a good choice. Here we meet with US Highway 322, and we're going to be concurrent with it as we head towards Ebensburg and Clearfield. But when we split off from US Highway 322, we're now getting signed for Kerwinsville. US 219 doesn't even go to Kerwinsville, so I have no idea why PennDOT is signing it here. And to our next mileage time, we get Kerwinsville as our secondary from 15 miles away, and Ebensburg still as our primary from 55. Like, why do we need to sign Kerwinsville? Here we meet with Pennsylvania 36 once again, and it's getting signed south for Altoona, while 36 northbound is going to be concurrent with 219 southbound to form a wrong-way concurrency towards Ebensburg and Punxsutawney. Anyways, up the road, we're now getting signed for Burnside from 1 mile away and Ebensburg from 28. Once again, we do not need that place being signed from only 1 mile away. Why are there mileage signs like this that exist? And lowest down the road, we're now getting a very tiny mileage sign with Ebensburg from, I don't even know what distance that is, with Northern Cambria from 4 miles away? Luckily, a ways up the road after going through Northern Cambria, we now get Johnstown as our primary from 26 miles away, which is a great choice. And here, looky here, we have a Google Maps error. There is no such thing as Pennsylvania Highway 219. I think that's supposed to be like Business 219 or something, but for some reason, Google Maps accidentally labeled it as Pennsylvania 219. Here we meet with US Highway 422, getting signed for Ebensburg and Indiana respectively. And here we meet with US Highway 22, once again getting the terrible control cities, while 219 is now getting signed south for Johnstown, which is a great choice. In our way down the road, we get a 194 Johnstown from 19 miles away, along with this beautiful fall scenery here. Here in Johnstown, we meet with Pennsylvania Highway 56, and we can see that we're now getting signed south for Somerset, which is a great choice. And right away, we're back on Flight 93 Memorial Highway once again, so awesome. Here we meet with US Highway 30, getting signed for Storystown and Jennerstown. Here we meet one of the two exits to get to the Pennsylvania Turnpike here, but it does give some pretty awesome control cities. Also, this is unsigned exit 33. Here we meet Pennsylvania Highway 281 once again, the second of the two exits to head towards the Turnpike. And on that exit, we're now getting signed for Myersdale from 15 miles away, so that is a good choice for the last town in Pennsylvania. Here in Myersdale, we're actually meeting US Highway 219 business here, and for some reason it's not mentioned. We just get a Myersdale as the exit. And on this exit, we can see that 219 is now getting signed south for Salisbury. I do not like that choice at all. Salisbury, Pennsylvania has only 700 people, and it's not the Salisbury that is known for a southern staple cheerwine. I would rather to see Grantsville, Maryland, or even Morgantown, West Virginia. Those places would be better than signing Salisbury, Pennsylvania. And we only get a one-liner here for Salisbury from 6 miles away while we're going over this mountain here in the background. Come on, man. Luckily, here in Salisbury, we're now getting signed for Grantsville from 7 miles away. I mean, that's okay. I prefer to see probably also Morgantown too. But our next mile time, we get Grantsville on the top line from 6 miles away and Oakland from 36. I mean, that's a good place to sign on 219 itself, but it would still be pretty cool to see a 3-liner to have Morgantown here too. And here we are entering back into the state of Maryland. And in the Grantsville area, we meet with our business route, US 219. And it's very odd to see a US highway being signed for a green business route. Normally I'd see that like for interstates, but not for a US highway. And here we meet with Interstate 68, and we're going to have a short concurrency with it going westbound towards Morgantown. And here's where we split off from Interstate 68, as 219 is now getting signed south for Oakland, which is a great choice. In our next mileage time, we do get Oakland from 26 miles away as our primary. And here in Oakland, we meet with Maryland 135 and Maryland 219 once again. And we're now getting signed for Red House and Thomas. I mean, Thomas only has like 500 people, but it is where we meet US 48. I prefer to see probably like Thomas and Elkins or Thomas and Parsons instead of just Thomas by itself, MDOT. Here we meet with US Highway 50, getting signed for Romney and Grafton respectively. And our next mileage time, we do just get Thomas, West Virginia from 14 miles away. Once again, I'd prefer to see maybe like Elkins or Parsons, not just Thomas by itself. We're now entering back into the state of West Virginia, so let's see what West Virginia has to offer on southbound. And our first mileage time, we do get Elkins from 37 miles away, which is a great choice. Here we meet with US Highway 48 in the Thomas area, and we're now going to be concurrent with westbound 48. And here's where we split off from 48 cubed, as we're now getting signed for Elkins still because we haven't made it to downtown. And our next mileage time, we get Marlinton from a good 66 miles away, which I think is an alright choice going southbound because we're still pretty far away from Lewisburg. On our way out of town, we split off from US Highway 33 and 250 and 219 are going to be concurrent as we head towards Marlinton. Our next mileage time, we still get Marlinton from a good 64 miles away. And here is where we split off from US Highway 250 as it heads towards Green Bank, while we're still getting signed south for Marlinton. Also, fun fact about Green Bank, West Virginia, it is part of the National Radio Quiet Zone, and a lot of electronics are practically banned there, except for like authorized equipment. So if you try to head to Green Bank, make sure to turn off your cell phone or any other electronics that are not permitted there. But our next mileage time, we now get Lewisburg from a good 89 miles away. This is an awesome mileage sign, West Virginia. And here in the Marlinton area, we're now meeting with West Virginia Highway 39 here. And 39 and 219 and 55 are all going to have a concurrency. Here is where West Virginia 39 and 55 splits off from US Highway 219. And our next mileage time, we still get Lewisburg from 34 miles away. Here we meet with Interstate 64 once again, and it just gets the terrible control cities that we saw going northbound on 219. We also meet US Highway 60 in downtown Lewisburg, so that is pretty cool. And our next mileage time, we now get Union on the top line in Rich Creek, Virginia from 41 miles away. That is the town where we're going to be meeting US Highway 460, so, I mean, yeah, that's okay for now. And a ways down the road, we still get Rich Creek, Virginia from 27 miles away with Peterstown from 24. And after going through Peterstown, we get a Welcome to Virginia sign here. And here we get a mileage sign with Bluefield, West Virginia from 35 miles away. So it looks like that VDOT is actually favoring US 460 westbound here, because if you wanted to get to Roanoke, you'd have a better chance of getting onto 64 up in Lewisburg instead of traveling all the way on 219 all the way down to 460. So I think that's an okay choice, favoring 460 westbound. And speaking of US Highway 460, we end here, and we don't get an end sign. We just get a sign telling us for US Highway 460 East and 460 West. So with that, we end US Highway 219 and we move on to the way it should be. So these are all the places that I think should be signed on 219. Starting off with northbound, we have Lewisburg, then Marlinton, then Elkins, then Parsons, because Oakland is a decently sized town, but I don't think it should be signed from like good 60 or 70 miles away. Then Oakland, then Cumberland because of 68, then Myersdale, then Somerset, then Johnstown, then Evansburg, then Northern Cambria instead of Carrolltown, then Du Bois, then Ridgeway, then Bradford, then just straight up Buffalo. No need for Limestone or Salamanca, just straight up Buffalo. For southbound, I would start off with Orchard Park, then Springville, then Salamanca, then Bradford, then Ridgeway, then Du Bois, then Altoona because of Pennsylvania 36, then Evansburg, then Johnstown, then Somerset, then Myersdale, then Morgantown because of 68 westbound, then Oakland, then I'd just go straight towards Elkins, then Marlinton, then Lewisburg, then finally Bluefield because of 460 westbound. And that ends US Highway 219. Thank you all so much for watching this episode on US Highway 219. I hope you got to learn a little bit more about this highway, and someday I'd like to travel a bit more of this highway, because it looks pretty scenic in the parts that I have not been on it. So anyways, here are my next few highways. If you have intersection requests for any of these upcoming highways, please let me know down in the comment section below, and I'll make sure to shout you out once these highways release. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see y'all next week as we do the big UX6. Bye!